Welcome chillins, painters and decorators of the interweb. Anybody who's watching, Phil Beckwith, the professional painter and decorator. Bit of an unusual one. I like to do, you'll see in my playlist, I've got some house renovation content, and this room I'm in is one that I did a few months ago, and it's always nice to come back, and thankfully I've been allowed to just film this room that I did a good few months ago over the summer. So I thought I'd just show you what we can do as decorators. The transformation of this house, and I've been very lucky, actually proud working on it. We've gone from top to bottom. You've probably seen some videos over the last 6 months or so, 12 months, where I'm showing you wallpapering and different techniques of spraying, painting. But to actually see a room that's actually completed, and I'll say virtually completed, there's the odd shoulder mirror that's got to go up. Because I've still been working here on and off over the last umpteen months, I've seen the transformation of rooms being literally plastered out with new coving going round, bits and pieces like that, and actually me doing the decorating, doing the wallpapering, doing the spraying the panels. If you're over my shoulder you can see I've got panels that are sprayed. These were all bare substrates, and when you say what's a substrate, Phil? These are bare surfaces. We've had plasterers, and I'll just spin you up like that. Plasterers patching up ceilings because electricians have done the renovations of replacing cabling. Same with the plumbers. This house has been literally gutted from new boilers, new electrics, new everything. You wouldn't recognise it from when I first came to see it earlier on in the year. But this is one of the rooms that's virtually, we'll say 99% completed now. There's just the last little bits of soft furnishings that I've got to go in. But for me, as a painter and decorator, how good is it that you can come in and see the difference from, it's really the blank canvas. It's the blank canvas of nothing being on the walls. Originally these walls were just white. It was cheap contract white emulsion. Ceiling, walls, skirting board, it was just white. Now when I do pan around and show you this room and explain a few things and processes that we've done, you won't recognise it. It's totally, it's another house. Enough with that. Right, I'm going to spin round first because we'll start at the ceiling and work our way down. I hope you like this sort of content because it's just a bit interesting. I think it's interesting. Right, I'm going to spin round. Right, I'm going to spin you up. Now, this ceiling was the ceiling, and I'll do over my left shoulder the link where we had bad water stains. There was really bad water stains. Now, one of the videos that I did was using the Zinza 123 plus 3-4 coats over the water stains, and everybody, I'll say everybody laughed at me. They says, oh, it never worked. Well, do you know what? Stains haven't come through. Yeah, it was a bit of a pain in the neck doing 3-4 coats. If you were spraying or rolling it, it'd be a lot easier. With that 123 plus being water based, it was actually quite nice. It dried in the nicest possible way. It dried quite quickly because I was doing other things, so I could go from one thing to another and get it coated out. But yeah, people thought, oh no, it's not going to work, but it did work. And that ceiling, which had really bad watermarks across it, they've been held off, and this has been done months, 3-4 months now. Can't remember, I seem to have been here that long. Right, my next thing I'll talk about is the wallpapering. Now let's spin it around this way. We've got two halves of a room. One side of the room is separated by the French doors there, and then we come into above the fireplace. There's actually no, I'm going to point over my head, there's no wallpaper that joins these sets of walls together. Does that make sense? So I was doing one side of the room, stopping, and then coming to do this side of the room. It's straightforward enough. Yeah, straightforward enough. But the complications or the skills, the skill set required for this wallpapering, it was more of a case of the planning. Because as you can see, and I'll stay here, Right, we've got peacocks. Can you see the predominant peacocks? 1, 2, 3. Now, part of the peacock is just chopped off, but as we come down, we've got full peacocks. Now, when I spin round and show you a bit more, you'll understand why it was like that. I discussed it with the customer, how the positioning of the wallpaper wanted to be for them, because it's them that will be sitting, watching telly, looking at the wallpaper and thinking, why has he done that? I explained various processes of hanging the paper, from getting one of these birds central or having the birds just under the coving, but then you've got to balance it because we've also got the panelling going round. Now, if there was a little bit more tolerance, if the panelling wasn't at that height and had got a little bit more room to play with, you could have balanced it a lot better. But this paper here, I'm going to spin you up to it. Right, let's see if I can zoom in. Has, I'm going to point it out, I'm looking, has just there, above my finger, it's not very clear, there's a hummingbird. There's a hummingbird there. Now the hummingbird didn't want to be chopped up or, oh, move out the sun, didn't want to be chopped up or lost. Oh, trod on the dog. So the hummingbird was the part of the paper that are kept below the coving edge all the way around. Now, you've seen in previous videos, I'll do a link there, paper hanging tools, I use a laser liner. To keep that bird in position was quite, I won't say easy, because nothing's easy when it comes to papering and walls running out, but at least I knew that that bird was going to be under the coving all the way around, because the laser allowed me to have a line on this wall coming all the way around, following it all the way around to match up this wall. Does that make sense? So I'd got a vertical for the laser liner so I could get the plumb, but the beauty of the laser liner was I could get a horizontal line going from like just there to all the way to there. So that peacock, oh I can't even do it, that peacock there is at the same level as the peacock there. You couldn't do that with a spirit level because you've got too big a gap, but I could do it with the laser liner. So wallpapering wise, we worked it out and we balanced it that the customer was happy and I was happy with it. Aligned it, butt joints on the lining. We used 800 lining paper. We mercured the walls down. These were really bad walls for the cheap contract emulsion, so I did go over them with Zinza guards. Now there's a video there about Zinza guards, but Zinza guards them, mercured them, Zinza guards them, filled, did everything prep wise correct, lined them with 800 lining paper. Butt joints, we don't do any gaps, we don't do filling of gaps, we butt joint, make sure they're down, come back the next day. If anything has just sprung a bit proud because the trimming of the wallpaper's off, we just get the seam roller on it, get them down. And of course, before you put your finished papers on, you stand down the walls, just nib them over just in case there's anything that's just got under that lining paper. Do all that, and then we come to do the actual finished paper, which was a non-woven. So I'll say it was easy. Yeah, it was more of a case of lining up. But this room is stunning with this paper. The colours, we've got Wimborne white mixed, Farrenball mixed Wimborne white into anti-reflex 2. It's not quite Wimborne white because obviously the pigments go into the anti-reflex 2 and the anti-reflex 2 is white. But we have knocked off the white. So it's not a bright stark white against this paper. So enough about the ceilings and the papering. I'm going to move around and I'm just going to show you the panelling and the doors. So, if I can talk to you about the panelling just here. Panelling, this is in all done in MDF. It was all bare MDF. Now the process for the MDF, you know what MDF's like when you've got cut corners. It furs up. So what I did, I primed it with Zinza 123 Plus, and then I gave it a nib down, then I re-primed it after I've done spot filling, just in case there was anything there. Cork, you're going to say to me, what cork do you use? I use the Red Devil one-time cork. Now the reason I use that is because it's flexible. It's an interior exterior cork and there's flexibility on it. Now some people are going to say, oh, there's better corks out there. Now I'm quite happy with that cork because I do a lot of spraying and I find that within 25 to 30 minutes it's gone off enough that if I painted over it I don't get any of that crazing and cracking on the top edge of the skirtings or anything that I've actually used the cork with, which is great. So edges were corked. Spot little, if there was any little nail heads, just use some fine surface filler, blended them out, gave it a nib down. Then it had the second coat of primer stroke undercoat, which was the 123 plus. Once I was happy with that, it had a nib down, recheck if there was anything filling, and then the finished coats, it was 2 coats sprayed with the GX FF fine finish Greco, and I used either a fine finish 208 or 308, 210 or 310. It just depended how I felt. Most of the spraying on these sorts of panellings, I've been doing a 310 because it gives you a 6-inch fan pattern, but some of the smaller areas I was alright using a 208 or a 210. They were mainly for the primer coats, but the finish coats using Everol Aqua 40, because that's the finish, mixed up to a Farrow & Ball colour. Oh, I'm sorry, Farrow & Ball, but needs must sometimes. We know they're not probably going to be spot on direct matches, but they're as near as you possibly can. But spraying wise, it sprayed up beautifully because I've done the preparation work on it. I'd actually done all the sanding down, I've done all the filling, I've made sure I've gone round with, I mean, if you've got them, I've got one in my pocket. The Merkur, it's the Gold Flex sanding pads. Now this is a soft one, this is a 240. This is ideal for going over edges and just nibbing them down and getting them off when you suddenly think, oh, it's a little bit furry. It sands down lovely. I always tell you, never fill and sand anything before you've actually got a primer coat on, particularly on bare substrates, bare MDF. If you sanded the MDF down before you've actually got a primer coat on, you could scratch that surface and it takes a bit of work to get it back out with primer coats over the top. But if you've got bare MDF, give it a coat of primer first, do your filling, do your sanding, then build it up from there. And I have to say, you'll see it, I have to say, these are pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. Originally they were going to be sprayed by the manufacturers who fitted it, but once they saw the complexness, once they saw how complex it was to get the panelling right because the walls were slightly out on corners, they decided that they didn't want to be doing it in-house in their spray unit, fitted all the panels bare, and then I was asked to go in as an extra to paint them because I could then fill it, sand it as it needed. So it's come up pretty damn good. I'm really chuffed with that. Right, next corner of the room I'm just going to go to show you something else. I'm here. The only thing I've not done in these rooms is the windows and the doors, outside windows and the doors, because they're going to be replaced or something's going to be done with them at a later date. Right, over my shoulder just there, I'm going to get my camera. I've had some lovely units fitted. Oh, I've got the sun in my eyes. Had some lovely units fitted that they had a guy come in and he's brush grained it. I'll move out that light. He's brush grained it. You're going to say, what do you mean? Oh, I've got to move. What do you mean brush grained it? He's made it look like wood. It's not matched to a wood, but he's made the cabinets look like wood. Now I'll go over there in a minute and just show you what they look like. Now that's something I used to do at college. I used to teach help with Mike Myatt at Baystor College. I was a second lecturer on a course that did decorative paint treatments. So doing stuff like that, graining and marbling and decorative treatments, that's something I could have done. But this firm that fits this sort of bookcase shelving had a guy that comes in and does it because they've got their own painter. So I worked in with him, lovely guy, name was James. I showed him what I was doing with spraying, tried to talk him into spraying. I think he might get there in the end. I think he might pick me up on that. But I've sprayed everything and he's brushed it. But obviously he's done a decorative finish more so than what I was trying to do with get all the panelling to a lovely finish. Does that make sense? I've got a flawless finish. That's what we've got. We've got a flawless finish on the panelling. So yeah, I'm pleased with that. I'm going to move you over there, show you his bookcase dragging and graining. Yeah, I think you can see it. Yes, you can see it. So, can you see it? It looks like wood. Can you see it's dragged? So what he did, because I watched what he did, because I obviously knew what he was doing, because I've had my mask on spraying earlier. A little bit of dust off my mask. What he did, they were a white pre-finished unit. He put a base colour on, which was like a walnut, dark brown, quite a nice chocolatey brown, but nice, with a bit of touch of red in it. So that's your walnut colour. Then he went over it with a darker, more of a black, put it on, and then literally dragged it down with a brush to get the effect, and then put a water-based varnish over the top. It was as simple as that, but simple but effective. And that, to me, if you can probably see it as well, no, you probably can't, it looks like wood. So to the layman that didn't realise that it wasn't wood, it's painted as wood. And that's like what they used to do back in the day. When people couldn't afford to have expensive woods, they'd get somebody in, or they'd do it themselves and make it look like an expensive wood, either oak or bird's eye maple or even walnut woods. You can do an effect to make it look like walnut wood. But that, as I spin round, looks fantastic. Got an ironing board there because we've moved stuff about. But this room is fantastic, and I'm quite proud to say that I've actually been involved doing it, because everything that's been done has been quality. From the curtain fittings to the light fittings to the wallpaper, there's been, I'll say no expense spared, but it's nice to do a job, and some of you decorators will appreciate this. Sometimes it is just a case of just emulsioning a room out, and it's just nobody's really bothered about it. But these customers are lovely, and they appreciate the work that's been put into the house with the trades that have been here, and it's been proper skilled trades. So it's been nice to work with other people that know what they're doing, and it's also nice to work with customers that want a proper job being done. And you've seen that video about earning monies, and we talk and joke about the £120 a day painters. We're not £120 a day painters, and we shouldn't be £120 a day painters. We're a lot more than that. But it's me, it's you, as a professional painter and decorator, that is the one that finishes these rooms. Not this particular room, I've done it, but we're the ones that do the finishing. Now, the plasterers, the electricians, the plumbers, they're in weeks before what we are. We're the ones that actually finish the job, that the customer comes in and goes, yeah, that's what I wanted. So it's our skill that makes it look as good as what it does. And this room looks fantastic. So on that note, I'm just going to spin you around. If you've got any questions, ask me. This isn't a video showing you how to do anything. It's more of a recap of what we do as decorators, or we as MD Beckwith decorators, what we can do and what the end results are. And as I said at the beginning of the video, the end results, we don't always see the end results with a room that's been furnished and finished, because we've gone, we will have done the wallpaper, we'll have done the painting. We don't see when the furniture comes in or gets dropped off or the curtains going, because we're on to another job. But as I said earlier, this job I've worked from top to bottom. We've done the top floor, this is the middle floor, and I'm now on the ground floor with a kitchen, and it looks stunning. The house is stunning. Don't want to blow my own trumpet, but it's probably me that's made it look stunning. Right, just spin you around slowly. Go wide. Lovely wallpaper, and it's back to me. So move you away there. I'll stand where the ironing board is. I'll say thanks for listening to me. There'll be some videos there following on. Please click, have a look at what they are. Some are specially selected for you by Google, YouTube, whoever does it. I think it's all Google and the algorithms with whatever it is, but they're selected for you, and also there might be a playlist that I think might be suitable for you as well. But thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you on the next one.